enter episode 2. Queaz, intro us. Go.
Play the intro. What are you talking about?
All
that
right,
shit motivated me.
Okay, I'm going.
Play that damn intro.
That motivated me.
Okay.
You know, I've never offered this Queaz, but I could sing an intro with you.
You can sing an intro with me?
I veto.
Joking with you.
Tin can phone, Mike and Armon, Joe, Queaz, we the ones that you can depend on to bring the voices from the inside out. Locked down, but they not locked out. No filter over here. Check what we be talking about. Feet up in the trenches, Bob. While you're on the fences, metal detector before you enter. Shaky medical and see your stitches. They be pushing their weight around. Educate, didn't have the time to wait around. Taking classes while they played around. That's what we call staying down. What we call staying down. That's what we call staying down. Mike, Armon, Joe, Queaz. Dang,
hey,
tin can phone.
Hey, tin can phone in this. Hey, it's your boy Misfit Adi, man. Go ahead and check me out. Tin can phone, huh? Mike, Joe, Armon, what's happening? Joe, what's happening with you, baby?
Man, just starting episode 2 of Tin Can Phone. What's going
on
with you, Armon?
Dude, Joe Rosenberger, that is. You know, it's Armon.Poos on everything. Armon Poos Pasan. It's been great. I'm glad to be here. Mikey, I like your shirt today. I love it.
Fresh. This is hot out of the mail order. Just trying to freshen up my look. I had the epiphany that I want to be perceived as more black for a whole lot of different reasons. But
Mo Black.
Mo Black. Welcome to episode 2 of Tin Can Phone. Thank y'all for whom are listening at any point of this sonic transmission, but especially those in our live studio audience, of which very soon we'll have you kind of join us. But I do want to call some folks in kind of like roll call style to get the mood in the room. As we mentioned, much of this show, while we are the pundits of it, there are some other folks who are in the fray, and I'd love to invite to the floor my good personal friend, Blue, who will tell you a little bit about themselves, as well as hopefully giving us a little shout for a collaborative project we're working on. Blue, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Hey, how's it going, Michael? Guys, awesome show. That first show was rad. I love hearing about what you're doing, what you guys are doing on the inside. And just glad you guys are out, and welcome back.
All right, thank you, Blue. Thank you. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Really great. And good to see some of these names that I see on here too. So I'm an artist in Portland. Met Michael at CRCI, PSU Art and Social Practice, just like came in and, did their thing. Didn't ask for anything, just created a space for creativity, for discussion, for learning. Yeah, I remember the first time I got a check from Answers Without Words, called Answers Without Words with Anka, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I mean, there was a lot of money in there. $50, that's almost a month's wages. So, to have guys like Michael and Spencer, when I got back to Portland, just welcome me back, and say, we got you, and you're part of this community, and we see you as an artist, and we see you as a person, and we see you as a friend, and we're not going to draw lines or barriers or be like, all right, it's time to, separate our friendship now because you've stepped outside those walls. That's when we need you, that's when we need those supports. And I know he's been there for you guys too. So Michael and Spencer and Anka and Roshni and even Harold, and maybe I'm forgetting some people, but, really kind of just saying, yeah, be a part of this artistic community. And Pica, they got me the Time-Based Arts Festival pass when I first got out. I got to see some amazing stuff. Some of it put on by a guy who did like over 20 years in New York prisons. There was an amazing play that he was in. But
Jack And was the name of the play.
What was it called?
It was called Jack And.
Okay, that was
the
rad.
name of the production is a starting place for folks to search.
So I guess I'll just say I'm working as an artist in Portland. It's a skill that I focus. You guys talked about, like, what do you do in there? Like, do you do classes, or you do sit around, and think about where the time's going? I spend a lot of time, focusing on my craft and trying to learn and get better, like a lot of you guys did in what you do. So I'm working with Michael on a gallery blue, we're calling it. We're calling it gallery blue, partly because I'm involved, but partly because that's what the guys on the inside wear. There's a lot of sort of stuff going on. We have a really cool installation that's going to go right into the parole and probation office. And I remember when Michael and another person, I think it might have been Tracy, sent me this thing for this call for artists to do a mural on the outside of the parole and probation office. And I don't know, what do you say to that? It's crazy, right? Like, am I really going to go paint a mural on the side of the parole and probation office? But, after the initial response, I was like, let's do it. So Michael and I petitioned together as a team for this giant 30-foot mural, and we didn't get it, but it was really cool to be part of the process. And then they called us back and they said, we don't want you to do the outside. You're one of 3 finalists, but we want you to do the inside. So they set up a budget, and we would have liked more, but we basically decided we're going to try to take over this entire environment. We're going to try to put art everywhere. We're going to try to change the conversation, change the vibe. Because I don't know if you guys know, but it ain't pretty walking in there. It's walking into an oppressive system. It's walking into a place where people don't want to hear about what you have to offer, or the positive things that you've done with your life, or who you are as a person. A lot of times, and I can't say this universally, a lot of times they just want to put their boot on your throat.
Facts.
And so our goal is to bring some really cool art that has some strong meaning. Michael, do I have time to just say a few things about what's going in there?
Please.
Or should that be it?
No, take care of business.
So I'm going to be developing some original pieces for it. You can see some of them on my Instagram if you're interested. It's at brushfireheart.art. I tried to make it really difficult, so it's hard for people to find. You really got to want to find my Instagram. But so I'm doing some sacred geometry pieces. Those pieces are just designed to kind of give people the idea that there's this underlying design to things that sometimes I think on the inside or even upon release, you're like, what's my life going to look like? What is the world going to be? What are my opportunities? And it can be hard to see, especially coming from being fully locked down and having no freedom and autonomy, except maybe of the mind and spirit, to the outside and figuring out, what does the future hold? What am I going to do with my life? What's next? I think it's different for everybody, but I think that's what the sacred geometry for me is about, is to kind of maybe subconsciously give that idea that there is a larger plan. It may not be evident what it is, but it's there even if you can't see it. And then I'm doing a series of large pieces. They're large resin cutouts. They're painted plywood. Some of them are 4 feet tall. One's going to be 8 feet tall. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anna Debenham, who does the Inside Alliance at CRCI. She does a course called Insight to Wellbeing. She works at Coffee Creek as well as McLaren and CRCI. And she's amazing. Their organization's amazing. And it's all about learning about how we experience the world 100% of the time from the inside out. So these pieces each have this like inner light, this intact light, the basic stuff that all of us are, that can go through adversity like we've all been through, but be okay, be unbroken, be whole. So that's those group of pieces. And then Michael and I are also going to house a gallery for formerly and currently incarcerated artists. We're going to be paying artists who are currently and formerly incarcerated to make work. And then we have right now 20 frames. We've made them out of wood from salvage works. It's reclaimed wood. Most of the wood is from a church that was torn down on Martin Luther King. And we've left sort of the beat up patina. We've we've kind of let the beauty of the age and the struggle of the wood, what the wood's been through, show through. And there's nobody that looks at these frames and says that they're not beautiful. And just like you guys are each beautiful, you've been through some stuff, taken some hits, but you come out here and you share your minds, and it's powerful. And that's the point of this thing, is one, to create a position where, just like Michael has helped for you guys to do this podcast, but it's you doing it. We're going to create these frames to house work from real people who have worked on their craft, who want to be a part of this. I think we're paying $150 up front. We're trying to see if we can raise money to up that.
Yeah.
And then RAC, which is the Regional Arts and Culture Council, has already said that they want to purchase this work for anywhere from, I think, $100 to $300 at the end of the show. But that would be up to the artist, whether they're going to sell it or not.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things we're doing. And Michael, if you want to add anything, of course.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very detailed description. Thank you. And
Very detailed.
My bad. As we can with Tin Can Phone, provide our platform to other folks. I threw both Blue and I are fundraising, so that money that RAC gave us was enough to like do the thing, which is a whole story, and we could get into it, but was not enough to actually pay the other guys for their time, which is another thing I'd like to get into in the future. But hyper equitability, as a culture and a species, we're not going to be able to get to where everyone dreams that we'll get unless we're looking at it through a hyper equitable lens. So we want to be able to pay these guys for both their time and their experience, and to treat it like a job and not to instrumentalize them for our purposes, etc. So that GoFundMe, we've got $580 raised so far of 3,000. With 3,000, nice. It'll fund like a full year of exhibition, and that money is to go right in the pocket of guys who are in or out but have experience incarceration. And Blue's Instagram is linked there as well. Blue, thanks, and you can stay on video. And I believe that Kirk Charlton is here. If you could pop in, I'm somewhat aware that maybe he's about to get on a plane. He's in Ohio. And if while he's here and or maybe figuring out how to jump in, Blue, you want to briefly shout out Kirk and the work that he's doing?
Yeah, Kirk's an amazing guy. I met him in Eastern Oregon, and he decided he was going to he's done about 20 years of his life behind bars. His last stretch was 8 years, I think, and he really kind of like found himself and what his worth and value was. He's always been an amazing artist. He's decorated the walls of federal prisons and places all over Oregon. But he started to develop a program for guys on the inside called Art Inside Out, and it's the most sought after class right now inside prison. He creates a space for people to do art, but also to have positive dialogue. There's a whole thing. They like it so much that the prison is actually trying to purchase it from him now. So those are some of the good things. He's also written a bunch of children's books and has an upcoming gallery show at Paragon Arts, which has hosted a lot of really great things supporting guys who have, men and women who have been on the inside. Paragon Arts had a abolitionist discussion where we actually had people from the prison administration, people who'd been on the inside, and people from an abolitionist organization in Portland. So really cool, great group, and they're going to support Kirk. And he's amazing. Like, his work is beautiful. It stands on its own. You know, it's really cool to see him gain some traction here on the outside. And, you know, partly it's just like that we connected, you know. He was going to be fine no matter what, but as you guys know, having other people to kind of bounce ideas off and to find your way. He has mentors that are from the inside, people who have been volunteers on different levels with, I think, Business in a Box. But that's one of the most important things is to have community, whether it's guys from the inside or guys from the outside, men and women, to say, we're here for you. We got you. We're going to help you figure out your next move. Because there's too much value in people coming out to just like, let them flounder.
Yeah, thanks for that. And we're excited to work with Kirk in the future. He's going to be doing work also with Gallery Blue, his own personal work, but also trying to funnel the Inside Out program folks into our gallery. And now I'd like to invite Ben to grace us with his presence. This man, welcome home, Ben. My first conversation with him was last night.
Get your video button, Ben.
Video and mute. And maybe
has someone taught him how to use the computer yet?
he did seem. He said he's like, you can text it to me, and maybe I get it on my computer, maybe I get it on my phone. He said he had bad service. But Ben is here with us, and as all have made gentle reference to him and his sage wisdom, and in my conversation with him last night, I mentioned that there's a lot of opportunities for him in the work that I'm doing. And so that story will make it here, whether it be today or elsewise. And Ben, he's coming. Looks like he's unmute.
Hit the little camera. Dude.
That guy.
There he is,
Sorry,
Ben Hall. Welcome home, Ben Hall.
Welcome home, big dog.
I've been listening. I'm in the process of registering for Portland State at the same time. We're trying to figure this out. It's
Guy's a hustler. I love it.
Anyways, I'm here. I'm present. I'm out in this small town where there's a lot of trucks and American flags. I'm in a small room with a little bit of service.
Love it. And just for folks at home to get a flavor and just need be a taste as you are semi-busy, and we'll definitely have you back on the show. But if you were to briefly describe your incarceral context and or some of the thoughts you have as you're coming out, what musings would you share?
I mean, I think it would have went a lot different if it wasn't for this COVID. Like that completely changed my plans, everything, in a way that I didn't let derail me. But one of the things I just came back from Lyle, Washington. I was up there with a naturopathic doctor, a couple of them, and they were doing some homeopathy treatments on me, and it was really good. I couldn't get no service. There was no cell phone. I was just surrounded by the woods and blackness and stillness, basically. And I think one of the insights I came away from there, this doesn't really have to do with my incarceration inside, but it has to do with people getting out, right? And when you get out, like, you're hitting the ground running whether you think about it or not, especially if you're not like in a position where you got a place to go and all that kind of stuff like that, all this you got to do. And there's no space right now that I know of where a guy can get out of prison and just be, and just kind of like, Walida was talking to me about it when I first got out, and she just said, take it slow, because her brother was in prison and he'd been out 2 years, and he just said, man, I feel like I'm just now got home, because when you get out, you got pressures, especially, Queaz would tell you he's a dad, you know what I mean? And you got expectations of people, and 9 times out of 10, like, you haven't really done no work to process like trauma, you know what I'm saying? And that you've gone through. And, so for me, like, that's the biggest insight I've had just recently since I've been out, that there's no place for a guy to just be, man, and learn who he is out here, unless he's, got the kind of privilege and the place to go that provides that, right? I know there's a few elements that made me a prison abolitionist, because I wasn't before. I just had this idea that, hey, we deserve to be here. We make choices, you know what I mean? And I still think a little bit about agency, like I lean toward it, but I can never ever get behind the ideology that laid the blocks for those prisons, the history of it. And but the beautiful thing, Armon touched on it, and Queaz, everybody's touched on it, but the resiliency that you find in prison it has all to do with your connection with the people in there, and the people that come inside, and you connect with them, right? So you create something in a space where you're not supposed to have it, right? I had a momentary lapse of reason. I guess I felt normal. I posted some pictures on Facebook recently of where I was at and who I was with. And normally I train people not to do this, but I just didn't think about it, you know what I mean? And this person's part of an organization, and that organization got a little upset, and they said, hey, you go into prison, you can't be hanging out and helping somebody, even though it was a complete, doctor-patient relationship. Like, so I had to take those down, for that person's protection. But anyway, I don't know if I touched on the question or the comment, but
you mused as you would, hyper contemporary muse of the day, and we appreciate having you here, and we're glad that you're out, and in my experience, it seems like somewhere around 100% of the time, it's real hard once you get out there. And so it's good to see you. And I'm really excited that you're moving forward. And I'm, if it, I'm glad that you feel like you're picking yourself up off of a slip. And should you or any of you slip again, we're all here for each other. So that's exciting. And this platform is, anyone hearing it, find us, because we want to hear what you're saying. And so, yeah, again, thanks, Ben. And folks who feel participatory, feel free to like wake up your camera and show that you're in the room. No pressure. But this next part of it is the tin can phone mechanism, right? Part of the ethos of this framing mechanism of the tin can phone is that it is a form of two-way communication, albeit highly analog. And so one of the reasons why we cultivated this live studio audience, so to speak, which is that there is an audience viewing this audience or whatever, is because we want to be able to ask you some questions and interact with you. So anyone who's there, turn off your camera and we're going to ask you a question. You'll unmute and chat, but we invite you into the room at this time, all folks who are here, and kicking us off into our next field goal is our man Queaz. Why don't you hit it?
Hey, it's Queaz. Thank you again for everybody that's here. Thank you again for everybody showing support. Hey, man, from the Tin Can Phone family, we love you. Shouts out to Reiko, man. Shouts out to Reiko. Yeah, the interview was great. Class was great. She taught me how to be a part of a class. She taught me how to be a part of an organization in a space that was small and not meant to be, and make it a wonderful place. She taught me. That was my teacher, right? My professor, right? Shouts out to Reiko. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell a small part of a story, and I want our audience, our family, our fans and friends to answer what they would do in this situation. No right or wrong answers, just a perspective, and just to kind of give you an insight on the intense decision making of, again, what they will call an inmate. And Armon and Joe, y'all welcome to chime in also. So upon coming into prison, you have nothing unless you come in with a couple dollars. You get there, you see somebody you know, they're eating. Their eating means they have a little money, their job is secure, they have canteen being food and, you know, all the accessories that you need. You have nothing. Your friend offered you, hey, I got these socks for you, pack of drawers for you. I got a little bit of food for you, bruh. Just come to my bunk and get it. Whenever they clear count, just come to my bunk and get it. What is your first thought and what do you do? And anybody could unmute and answer what they would do in that situation.
Question for folks, especially if you have no incarceral experience. Part of our kind of curiosity to explore again in the show or in this moment is what is that line where you start to deepen your understanding of the lived experience, and so therefore is participatory for a wider audience beyond us, not even those viewing now, but again, the premise of the show to help folks understand. Yeah.
And one small point I'd like to add to that is,
Don't give nothing away. Don't give nothing away, Armon.
I'll give nothing. Hey, games to be sold, not told. But the thing is also you got to consider, from the point of view or your point of view, is that maybe you don't have any sort of family system or any sort of backing behind you that you can rely on. So you're going into this system not only troubled with time, this, that, the other thing, but you also don't have any fiscal help from anyone outside. So how would you deal with that?
It looks like Reiko, you were join.
I don't, this might be cheating. I don't know how I would deal with that. But one thing that comes to mind immediately is a video I saw that was meant to encourage compliance. It was called How Not to Get Raped in Prison. And the message of the video was that you can't trust anyone and that you can't take anything from anyone, because then they're going to use it against you as leverage for some kind of sexual predation. And bracketing what you think of all that in its own right, it does seem that there are all kinds of warnings and reasons not to develop the very relationships that you need to sustain you. And it seems that even though there's good reason to be wary of people's motives, that kind of distrust only serves to isolate and divide and weaken. And so I guess I would, to back to you all, if this person in your story, Queaz, is a friend,
Yeah.
maybe it's a different situation because you already perhaps have some trust developed there.
Matter of fact, it's a friend that you know from the streets and y'all both happen to be in prison. It's a close friend of yours.
Then I guess you accept their socks.
Facts. Facts. Reiko says she accepted. Anybody else?
I would probably do the same because I'm a trusting, naive person sometimes, and I wouldn't know anything different at that time.
And I wouldn't take them.
I
wouldn't take. I just smile. I'm doing good. Thank you, man. I'm doing good. Everything's great. I got everything I need.
Facts.
Got the air in my lungs.
So, for me, I'm taking it myself because again, it's a friend. I say that to say that you are now in possession of contraband. You are now in possession of the same thing that they consider a knife. They would consider, contraband. So what do you do when your friend, a true friend, tries to help you out because you have no money and you take it? You are now subject to solitary confinement. You, Miss Reiko, and Miss Melissa, y'all are going to the bucket. And it's so as simple as that. As simple as a friend trying to help you, Miss Reiko and Miss Melissa, y'all are now going to solitary confinement for at least 15 days until they can find out if you stole it or if you took it from anybody.
And another small example of that, and this is time that I got in the hole for at different points, was allowing different people, especially in county jail when I knew more folk from my neighborhood, to allow them to even use a phone call of mine. So me just saying, hey, the $2.50 a minute plus the $1, I'll pay for it. You call your family, you get everyone that you need to kind of talk about it. And that in itself put me in solitary. That act alone. So,
Queaz, you really pitched a story I didn't expect. Like, how would you receive help or allow a person to help you if you were there? And like knowing Reiko and knowing Melissa, who's my grandma, and Joe, who's my grandpa, sitting there.
Hey, shouts out to the family.
It's really heartbreaking to, like, for one, to see Reiko and my grandparents answer that question, like wanting to receive help, but knowing what they know from us, that it's like troubling to know that my grandpa wouldn't receive help from people because he wouldn't trust anybody, and knowing that I love him and would want to help him and want other people to help him. And I'm sure they felt that way about me while I was there. Like that they didn't want me to, like, they wanted to help me, but probably didn't want other people to help me because they know it's bad or know it could get me in trouble, even if I need it. And there's really not a whole lot to point out besides it's just so troubling to see these people I really care about and I know, and that are so kind. So, like, the answer to that situation, what would they do? And to think about what I've done. I've accepted so much help that it's caused me so many problems because I needed it. And
but Joe, you got to understand the point of this too is I feel it's great for your grandparents to be here and for them to be able to answer these questions, because it'd better help them understand your mindset and what you was going through and why you made some of the decisions that you made while you was there. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a heartbreaking situation. It's an enlightening situation. It's an educating situation. It's a situation that calls understanding, because without it, you can only have misunderstandings. So now after this and through this, maybe y'all could be a little bit closer, and they would have a better understanding on why you made some of the decisions you made. Because people on the outside don't know. They don't know. All they know is whatever the internet says, whatever, you know, your paperwork says, like, that's who you are. But simply me giving you some food so you can eat could cause you to go to the hole. Your grandparents ain't going to understand. Why is he in the hole? So now this is just for a better understanding. This is something that I do even just with my people in the free time, because it's just a better understanding of why, you know, sometimes we end up in the places that we end up. Everybody assumed we could just be good in prison and we're going to come home early or we're not going to have any problems. But the simplest thing could cause the biggest problem. And really, I just want that understanding to be present.
Sure. And it has a lot of different things have been elucidated as well. I think, as many have mentioned, kind of the system is designed in this way where, like, not only is it capitalistically extortive, not only does it create interpersonal dysfunction among prisoners, even when prisoners try to and have been racially and other forms divided in some form of their own doing, in some form in response to the oppressive environment. But even when kind of bonds attempt to be forged, that is contraband, right? So it is a form of weaponized oppression that makes it even harder to be an individual participant or a collective participant. And that is designed, you know, like, prisons are hundreds of years old. The psychology on how to imprison someone is sharp. And I apologize. I was thinking of just the American narrative. Are thousands, you know, since human history, right? Humans have been putting other humans in bondage. And so there's a mastery of how this can remain hierarchically problematic. So as listeners are coming to understand, even the most simple of interaction, there's a depth in which understanding can be drawn forward, and that's what this show is designed to be doing, as well as also, as we experienced with Joe and family, create this dialogue between folks who have had incarceral experience and not, right? Because, like, it is that, like, and I guess another way to temper this understanding is have talked to and about and have experienced folks suffering the consequences of needing therapy after getting out of prison, and whether it's happening or not, and oftentimes not, is again not helping to, like, unpack the trauma. And therefore, as this person moves through time and space as a free individual, bumping up against systems and lacking of resources on the outside, and whether people are helping or not helping, and they don't know how to experience it to cope with their past or express themselves in the present. It is an unfortunate mishigas. And so our little exercise is helping to unravel that. I hear Joe has got another little test for us.
Well, so in Reiko's
And
answer,
Ben maybe has a question or a comment. Ben, you want to pop in real quick?
I've got a bit of
Joe. Ben Blue Joe.
Just real quick, I just want to say, like, it took me years to be able to ask somebody for help, and it chokes me up. Like, the community that I built, am a part of. Like, some are on this call right now. Like, they've helped me and assisted me in ways that have kept me out of prison, and it takes years to develop, like, your own ethic, right? And that changes sometimes, like, what you think is the highest ethic, the law or the moral, right? And when you come in contact with these things that contradict that, and the prison system itself does that, you have to navigate how to give, but also how to receive something, I'm grateful. That's all I can really say, that somehow I've been able to do that. And I've also learned since I've been out, like, I haven't even touched the pieces of me that I need to really work on, that I think that I have. So, I truly believe that undermining the prison system is about strategy. It's about learning how to violate these rules in a way that keeps you in the game, if that makes any sense. But that's all I have to say about it.
Thanks, Ben. Blue?
I wasn't necessarily going to weigh in, but I think my experience was you get to choose how much you become acculturated. Like, you get to make the decision about how much you decide to sort of work within the frameworks of what is normal prison behavior versus not. I mean, I had my struggles, especially in the beginning. It was pretty rough, but I got to find a way to navigate it for myself, to interact with people of every race and ethnicity. Being a Jewish person, actually becoming friends with people who had swastikas like tattooed on their body, like that's intense, right? Like, but allowing them to be their best individual on that day, regardless of what they may have believed in the past, or regardless of what they may have become wrapped up in some sort of weird prison thing. So like every choice is your own, and you live with the consequences. I'd take the socks.
Hey, Blue, is it easy to break away from the structural way of prison and talk and communicate and be interactive with other races? Like, so what I'm saying is, it's such a struggle to break away from and be independent and be your own person. And so for you to say you did that, I just kind of wanted you to just elaborate a little bit on, you know, what you had to go through with what they would consider your people in order to communicate with everybody and kind of move on to your own path.
I don't know if I have a similar experience to Armon in any way, but I definitely didn't feel like I was a part of any group. I felt like I was an other. I felt like semi-marginalized, like I had some struggles that I had to overcome. But I felt much more comfortable around. I mean, I was a soccer player in college, so I was instantly embraced by the paisas, you know,
Yes,
like
yes.
They were all about me.
Yes.
And then I usually
So paisas are the Latino population inside.
Right. Sorry about that. And so yeah, and just the people that I hung out with were people of every ethnicity, and I'm glad, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. So coming out, I still have different struggles, but luckily that's not one of them.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
sharing, Blue.
Thanks, Mister.
I know Joe has another kind of question answer activity for us before we wrap into our end segment. So launch us.
Well, I just want to, so Reiko brought something up about the like PREA compliance. She saw a video about like sexual abuse in prison, and largely what the majority of people understand about sexual abuse in prison is that it's like overt and aggressive. And I want to pose this story about an experience that has happened to me in prison, and I want to know what people would do. I had a cellmate who nothing ever physically happened to me, but every single day for like 4 months, he would tell me things. He was like the majority of his like sexually suggestive abuse it was all suggested as talk. He was constantly trying to convince me that I was gay and would do gay things. And I would tell him every day that I wouldn't. They're like, no, I'm not. What are you saying? And it was really difficult to I guess defend against that suggestion, not because I ever felt like I was going to do those things, because this guy was constantly saying these things to me. He's like, dude, I know you're gay. I know you want to do these things. And it was never in a way where he was never phrasing it like he himself wanted it, but that was a suggestion. And I guess I'm curious to know if anybody has an answer about, like, how would you answer that a person telling you that, and you're locked in an 8x10 room with him every day for 20 plus hours a day through the night after each meal, and he's constantly telling you these things about who you are.
Ben, Joe, can I add one thing to that as well?
Or do you want to
keep that up? Well, I mean, the one thing that I remember this specifically while being in prison, Joe when we were on yard, he talked to people that were part of the trans kind of, they got their own political transgender type people that are male, female, or how they identify inside of the facility. And I remember the shame that I had in myself when Joe, strong man that he is, was walking laps with these gentlemen and treating them like human. And I remember the callousness and just the lack of empathy I had and the wanting to save face amongst everyone, that I decided to not walk with Joe and those associated people because I myself didn't even want to be targeted as an affiliate of someone that might have these homosexual or transitional ideas. And I'm a very liberal, open man, Portland raised. I lean to the left all my life. But like, while in that situation, I thought that'd be the safest thing to not associate myself with that kind of, crew, regardless of how good or not good those people are.
Yeah, I chose the opposite. When I seen Joe going through what Joe was going through, I knew what his message was. I knew that he ultimately was like, I won't be controlled by prison. I won't be told who to talk to. I won't be told who to be with. So when I seen that, I like I said before, I was top ranked. I was top ranked Black Heart. And that was ultimately a DP for me to even associate with Joe. But I seen he walked and he was like, I don't care what people think. Like, I know who I am. And for me, that was inspiring. So I chose to walk with him. When he went to the yard and he chose to communicate with them, I chose to communicate with him. And I just ultimately wanted to show Joe, you not alone. No matter what you decide to do, if they real, they gonna stand with you. And I stood with Joe and I still stand with Joe. And, it was backlash. It was a lot of people that have something to say because, like Armon said, in prison, everybody got a story. Everybody is somebody, and they all have something to say. But like I told Joe, bro, you ain't got to worry about nothing. You ain't got to worry about nothing. And as long as I'm rocking with you, you got a whole nation rocking with you. And Joe came to my unit. When Joe came to my, I told him, come to the unit. Joe came to my unit, and it was nothing but love. I'm talking about the gangsters. I'm talking about the ones that they deem monsters. Them dudes. They all mess with Joe. They all rock with Joe because we seen the humanizing him. We seen that, he wasn't going to bow down to what everybody else in prison thought he should do or who he should talk to. And he talked to who he wanted to. And that inspired me because I was once held by the rules inside the prison. And, anytime it was something salty or shaky like that, not at all. Like, we not rocking with it. We not even going to halfway be associated with it. But the message he was putting out, the message Joe was getting across, I felt it. I believed in it. And I rocked with him. So we got to see both sides as far as Armon. And, he just didn't want to put up with the politics of what people would assume or think or say about him. And on the flip side, I didn't care. You feel me? Like, I'm rocking with Joe. And if anybody, and when they get aggressive, we get aggressive about it. So, it's two sides to it. And I just want Joe to know, I'm rocking with you, bro, no matter what you decide to do.
And it's interesting, like, the politics of body are alive in the outside world. And like literally everything, the human condition is exacerbated or hyper-focused or exploded by being in prison. And so stemming from that, what we're actually curious now, and is somewhat of a Q&A, but maybe just like a rhetorical question asking time, specifically for folks who have no time being incarcerated. This is episode 2-ish, and we're looking at hopefully a long future of this project. What do y'all want to hear? You are our studio audience, but you're also the other end of the tin can. What do you hope that this show can do for you? What do you not know? What would you love to hear about? That's the primary reason why we invited folks who are not incarcerated, especially, to be a part of this show. And I know many of the folks here who have been in prison, and it is, as I was talking to my roommate, executive director of City Repair, who is a fiscal sponsor and supports this project and others. is a plant. So all of you are plants. Many of you know about the incarceration or et cetera. So yeah, we're curious to hear, what do you want to know from us? What do you want this show to do for a wider world who doesn't know about incarceration? And while you're ruminating, we do want to hear from you first. The next question, after we hear a little bit as we kind of round out the end, will be to folks who have been incarcerated, our good friends who have been chatting, but who are not a part of the production team. What do you want to see happen on this show? This is your platform too. We'll always have you back. But as we are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, what do you hope that we can do for you with this platform?
Great question, Mike.
For me, it's probably pretty simplistic. Is I want to know, since I've never been in any of the situations that my grandson's been in, or any of you, what would we do best to support you in all this? Because we can't imagine what you've gone through. To me, it's heart-wrenching to hear some of the things, and I just want to know what I'm supposed to be doing, to help my grandson assimilate, or anyone, to come back.
Sure. And that we are, witnessing it, but was kind of this long-sighted goal of the inception of this project is, how do we project that out into the world? Because as I and other folks who are in here entered, we were seeing and engaging with much that was not commonly discussed or well understood on the outside. So yeah, thanks for that ask, and the world will hear it, and we will meet that. Tracy, are you motioning?
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. I've had the experience of being able to travel to and do work in different prisons in Oregon. And what I keep coming up in that I think is really interesting about that is that the experience of being in Lakeview and the access to programming and all of that is so different, obviously, than being close to a city center. And also the folks you meet, there is this baseline of story, but I think how the prison spaces are throughout the state, they're so different, and the way the architecture and the way people are housed are so different, that I think it'd be great to have you be able to tell stories particular to Snake, particular to Lakeview or Powder River, or South Fork, because all of a sudden the way space changes the dynamic of being inside seems really helpful for people that don't have any idea about experience, because South Fork does not look like Snake.
Tracy, what you mentioned there was amazing, because what it is it really breaks down to every single facility within every single state, within every single city has its own politics, its own demographics, its own way of dealing with crime. I mean, you still go down to the South and you're, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, you don't get paid $0, even if that's $26 a month. So, and then again, the demographics are black and white, opposed to if you go to North Dakota, which is a white and Native American, centralized prison system. So yeah, there is a great question there, and that is, how does each facility operate? But it is very complex.
It is, and so my home prison is OSP. That's where I actually have my kind of the program that Danny Wilson and I do there, only because the clubs system that they have, that's different than all the other prisons, allowed us to have such access because we aren't associated with an institution. So we're not able to teach through a community college or through Blizzard Park. Hi, Rico. And so that their club system just opened up a lot of opportunities for us to come in. I think that too, when you talk to guys or women, well, just the guys really, about moving through how life changed for them, moving from OSP to CRCI or whatever. I think those stories are also really important to get people to stop thinking about prison simply as the television prison.
One thing I was thinking about also is that, and I'm just really grateful for how vulnerable and how much personal narrative and how much of your own stories you're willing to tell through this platform. And I feel like one thing to just kind of, I keep thinking about is that the stories haven't finished at all either. And so much of the focus is on what happens inside those walls. But obviously a huge part of it is what continues afterwards, which you are all like actively living right now. And I really look forward to being able to hear about those experiences as another like point of learning and a point of kind of seeing what this system continues to do beyond its walls and beyond its borders as well, and the impacts that it has. So I'm really grateful for you all of you being willing to talk about that stuff as much as you have.
So real quick, like for this show, it's Inside Out. It's to show the humanization of who they call inmates and who they call monsters. So for us, it's our duty. It's a blessing to be able to tell the stories from in there and bring light. A lot of my friends and a lot of my they always ask, what could they do? What could we do? What could we do? Once you know, you become a witness. Once you have a conversation with us, once you've entered a prison, you become a witness of reality of, you no longer have to believe the illusion of what they're selling. So for Tin Can Phone, it's merely about humanizing the monsters. It's about humanizing the criminals. It's about, like simple, just as simple as, you look on the internet, you might see robbery, kidnap, this and that, but you're not going to see Great Father. You're not going to see community man. You're not going to see community. You don't see these things. So for us, it was always about humanizing the ones that they deem monsters. And I always tell my friends, like, the one thing you can do is have the conversation with the ones that don't know, like you once didn't know. Because conversation is healing. Conversation is important, because if you don't have these conversations, then the ones that don't know would never learn. And the one thing that you have to do is unlearn the things that you've been taught growing up in order to see life as it is now, because reality changes. So for anybody wondering, what can I do? I've never been to prison. There's nothing I can do. You can. Your voice is everything. And yes, it's more than talking. You have to walk that walk. You have to be present and not be afraid to, because you're going to get looked at different when you try to tell your friends, or you had these conversations with your peers, especially people who may not have any understanding of prison. You're gonna, it's gonna be a little backlash. It's gonna be a little judgmental, and you just gotta take that, because you have become a witness, and it's your job to spread the message, because you know now. Someone who don't know, we can't expect them to spread the message. So once you know and you become a witness, please stop judging people and just spread the message of what you know, because really we all human. Some of us just make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add something to you there?
Yeah, please, Danny, to cap us off.
All right. Well, there's probably more after me, but that's okay. Trace and I did the Folsom 50 project, and before we started doing this, and I apologize to all of you, but and I've admitted this many times when I've been in front of men and the women in prison, actually, is that growing up and being an average middle-class white person with no family or anybody that I knew that had ever been to, jail or anything, or spent any time in prison, I never thought about what it was like. And so kind of to echo what you're saying there, and it told, once we started doing the project, it really changed this. And I realized that so many people that I know, my brother and my sister-in-law and all these members of my family, once people go away, they're out of sight, out of mind, and we don't think about them anymore. Mm-hmm. And the two examples that you guys both gave of what would we do, my first thought, my first inclination for would I take the socks or not, I was like, of course I'm going to take the socks, not having any idea of what that meant. And I've been in, I don't know how many times Tracy and I have been in, 30, 40, 50 times maybe, we've been inside and talked to people so many times. And even with a little bit of that understanding, I still didn't quite understand how it is. So, and how I would personally deal with what you went through, Joe. And so I think it's the humanizing part of it that you're talking about is important. So for future stories for you guys to bring up those ideas and have, and really go through what that means, so that people can have an understanding, because until the rest of us people who are in power out here see how how everybody is treated and all, and how hard it is for you to be the people that you want to become yourself, you know,
Yeah.
then there's going to be not enough support. We have it in this room of us, 12 people, but
Sure. And I mean, the network definitely, thanks for that thought, Danny. The network definitely extends beyond. I got a question from the peanut gallery of non-formally in-person folks, but they were curious about the full spectrum of experiences of prisoners inside, outside, and especially before they were incarcerated, as well as reconciling the different eras of their identity presently. And so we're really wrapping. Blue, briefer than you've been able to do before. What was the final thought you had?
I just want these guys to follow whatever their creative journey is and connect with other community partners, so that there's other people that want to amplify your voice and like share what you're doing. So that's it.
I just want to stress how important it is for people to go into prisons, because, you know, those walls were erected to keep you out more than to keep us in. You know, and you have to take the collateral damage that comes with that, which means some people are going to come in with bad motives. Some people are going to come in with the idea of exploiting us, but we'll figure that out very quickly. You know, so that's just, I want to stress that, you know, that's one of their biggest tactics, is to keep you out of there so you can't see this face and all the other faces. I mean, I could think of some better faces for you to look at, but
You're not that bad looking, Ben. And the one thing that I can say is, obviously with this smaller group, we probably tend to have political views on prison abolition or reform in some way. We also have to understand there's a large populace. There's more than 350 million people in America. There's a large populace that don't think about abolition or to reform prison at all, that prison is meant to be punishment, that it's meant to foster you to be hardened. And I think you guys, as us as individuals, by just having those conversations with people that might have those views, that in itself helps, for real.
So they are in Queaz's ear. And we want to thank you for joining on episode 1 and episode 2. We want to thank PICA for their support. We want to thank City Repair and all the folks here. There's too much to thank in the time that's left.
Look,
get it.
Every time
Queaz is going to close us out with a rhyme. At some point,
every time I look up, every time I look up, another black man dead from the police pulling triggers. Damn, why they keep on killing us? Why we kill each other too? Knocking it off for a belt or a pair of shoes, a mustard seed of faith. They say that's all it take. Well, it's hard to have faith. Swan killer brother beat the case. Mama said she praying for me. Hope I'm having better days. She don't even know that don't exist in this crazy world. We got to do some crazy things to get by. It's a crazy day. Damn, every time I look up, another black man dead from the police pulling triggers. Damn, why they keep on killing us? Why we kill each other too? Said I knock a brother off for a belt or a pair of shoes. Damn, a mustard seed of faith. They say that's all it take. Well, it's hard to have faith when Swan killer brother beat the case. Oof, mama said she praying for me, wishing for them better days. No, I ain't getting no sleep fighting demons in these worst days. Damn, Tin Can Phone. It's your boy Misfit Adi.
Thanks for joining us. Find us. We're out there. We're looking for you. Look for us. Also, crci.art as a website will be a place that exists. There is a link in the chat, and I'll send it again for Gallery Blue, which if you Google on GoFundMe, we're trying to fund that project. Armon's boosting his link tree. I should have mine at the ready, but I don't. And I don't know if we're live anymore, but folks can feel free to say their feelings and thoughts and just cavort until Pica kicks us out.
Let me do a 10-second rhyme real quick.
You do it.
Let me do this one. This one, our dads. All these little kids think I'm the man, but they don't know that everything that I do is haram. I called my mom. I said, I'm about to open up a shop on the block. She said, son, you need to open a Quran because Allah's got a different plan. You think you're poor, you need to visit Sudan. You ain't been to El Dahej, but you go to the jail every week just to visit your gang.
Gang.
on site.
No,
Thank you
no,
guys
no.
again for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Means a lot. I'm sure all of you are kind of personal connections in a way, so we'll follow up in the future. But Tin Can Phone, look out and keep talking into the tin can.
Misfit Adi, Armon Poos, the artist known as Michael Stevenson Jr., Joe Rosenberger, that is, and this is Tin Can Phone.
You were listening to the Tin Can Phone podcast, where you can hear about the influence incarceration has straight from the sources. We tell the stories from the inside out. So make sure to check us out on cable community radio every first Tuesday at 10 a.m. You can also check us out on Spotify, Apple, and anywhere you love to catch your podcast. And make sure to give us a follow over at 10canphonepodcast.com. And follow our Instagram at 10canphonepodcast. This Misfit Adi signing off.